time is going to be advantageous. Melissa has had a legacy of providing great information for our webinars, so I'm sure today will be no exception. With that, Melissa Castro, you got it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lee. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Folks that are going to be catching us on the replay. This is a recorded session, so just reminding everybody of that. We will have some resources available to you at the end. And just want to give a warm welcome. I'm excited to be back with the IDC. I'm a third-time facilitator, which I feel really fortunate to say. It's been a few years since I've been lucky to be part of this community. And what really has stood out to me over the years I've been involved with the IDC is that the folks that show up in this space really do care about leveraging their influence and endeavoring to lead inclusively. And I will say, putting challenging times in the title feels like a little bit of an understatement, but I know this community is not only up for the task, but we've been at it for a while now. And so, how you continue to show up, no matter what the world is throwing out there, I'm here to crowdsource those good vibes a little bit. I always am when I come to this space because we really are here doing the work. And what I hope to bring today is a few moments for pause and reflections for all of you incredible leaders in this room that are doing this work, and hopefully to give you some gems to take back, pass along to your circles as we all endeavor to maintain a commitment to leading inclusively in challenging times. I believe leadership really is within all of us, and that we have intrinsic leadership worth and value we can bring to any space and create the influence that we want. And so that's what we're here to talk about today. And thank you so much for being here. I'll take a quick step back here if I can get my deck rolling with me. Let's see. There we go. So I'm Melissa Castro. I'm a leadership and team development coach and consultant. I specialize in positive intelligence, psychological safety, and energy leadership. Most recently, I lived in the Seattle area for about a decade, and I moved there from Washington, D.C. Before that, I was born and raised in Southern California. And I'm back in Southern California on a little bit of a nomadic quest these days with my husband and my 4 dogs. So we're in a little bit of adventure mode. But I came to the world of leadership specifically really through curiosity and an interest in people and systems and structures. And I was really fortunate early in my career to be proximal to some big name leaders in the academic world. In the House of Representatives, I worked for some members of Congress early on. And before I started my coaching business, I worked in philanthropy for Melinda Gates. And so I have had some really incredible exposure to leaders of all kinds, and some solid, some leaving a bit to be desired. And my firsthand experience and study and experimentation of leadership myself has taught me one clear thing, that we are all leaders, no matter what, no matter our title, no matter our background. We're all influencers by choice or by default. And now, with all that's going on in our world, the frenetic pace, the hateful rhetoric that people are throwing around, or the minimizing rhetoric that people are throwing around, we know people are hurting out there. We know many people are worried, anxious, exhausted, all these things. And so my work these days is really tackling that disempowered focus right head on, really looking at how much we can do from where we are, wielding the influence that we have in the circles that we're in, whether we have a manager title or not. I'm talking about in our homes, in our communities, wherever we are, in our workplaces, at the grocery store, online, and how we show up there. And so we get to lead. And I would argue that we need to figure out how we want to do that, how we sustain that influence, what does it look like, and how do we keep wielding that energy and influence that we really want as these challenging times keep coming, keep rolling. So we're going to jump right in, and I'll give you just a couple group agreements for us to get rolling here. So this is a recorded session, so confidentiality to a point, right? So everybody knows that. It's normal for these sessions, but we want to not share anything that we don't want going out into the world, and we want to hold that space for each other. We're respectful. We're going to approach with curiosity. Try not to jump in and problem solve too much. Try to be present. I know many of us, it's 10 a.m. West Coast time for me. I know some of y'all are getting into lunch hour and things like that. So, grab your lunch, grab your snacks, do your thing, but to the extent possible, be here with us. We're going to be doing some energy exchange, which I'm looking forward to. And then the standard things, interrupting, let's keep that to a minimum. Be honest, be authentic, open to new ideas and stretching out a little bit. And just a 10% stretch beyond the comfort zone. I always get anxious workshop participants that are like, what does that mean? And so I actually put a percentage on it. I'm just talking 10%. So a little bit of stretch into something you maybe not considered yet. And so to that point, I would love to check in and hear, you all came to this space today for a reason, and I'm honored for that. So if you would be so kind, please feel free to drop into the chat either a word or a couple of words on how you're showing up today. I'm going to see if I can actually get myself to the chat. I think the word that comes to mind for me is energy comes up. And granted, I've been spending a lot of time with this deck, but I've been thinking a lot about energy. I'm feeling energized today. Like I told you, we're on a little bit of a nomadic adventure here. So let's see what we got here in the chat. We've got curious, curiosity, eager. All right, good to see, good to see. Thank you for sharing that. And if at any point I'm rolling too fast or you can't hear or see what you need to see on the screen, somebody please wave me down. Feeling happy, feeling open-minded. Thank you, thank you. Hopeful. And so I'll use the chat a few times here and there throughout the presentation. Thank you for engaging with that. And I'll also invite people to give voice to anything that they feel they don't want to type out in the chat. So this will be sort of a casual conversation. I have a lot of great content for you, and I also am curious your thoughts on it, curious your questions, your reflections, and would love for you all to connect into the space too, however best serves you. So please feel free to do that. Thank you for sharing your check-ins with us. So our plan for today is ideally not to multitask. And I say that because we all learned the importance of pause and slow down during the pandemic. And many of us no longer take those pauses. And I know it's a privilege to be able to pause and take a moment, but this is really a presentation about our internal leadership muscles. And with that, we do need to do some reflection, consider some things, and see what's really working, not working for us. And so that's what we're going to be doing today. There will be some notes and reflection and journal time. So grab your Post-its or your favorite pen and notebook or your OneNote. We will explore what does it mean to lead from within and intrinsic leadership. We will consider our influence and intentions about how we give and get energy. And I hope that you'll leave with a few key reflections. One, that you're intrinsically a leader with influence that you get to wield in every space you occupy, however you want. Two, that you can be intentional about your impact without burning out. And three, how to take a step forward in that direction. So we should have a little time for some Q&A at the end, but I do welcome questions throughout. Please feel free, drop things in the chat, come off mute. We're a smaller group today, so I think we can get some voices in the mix here, and would love some interaction and engagement, again, however best serves you. But do be ready to reflect and take notes. That's going to be a big piece of this. The trend in this discussion is all going to be self-awareness and intention. An intentional slowdown. I just did this workshop with some folks last week with the leadership team, and somebody said, I can't remember the last time I just took a moment, literally just took a beat to pause for the sake of pausing. And I felt that in my bones because I'm the same way. I come from corporate background, and I can tend to go meeting to meeting to meeting to event and tumbling down that road. So this whole discussion, this whole presentation is going to be reflection, pausing, slowing down a little bit. And so what do I mean when I say intrinsic leadership? Well, I mean that we all have leadership influence. And what I mean by intrinsic leadership is simply the act of leading from within. So leading authentically, leading through values alignment, leading through our vibes and the energy that's important for us to share with the spaces that we're in. Secondly, leading from within means minding that energy we're taking in and the energy we're putting out. We all know when we step into a space with other people, there's an energy situation going on in that room. Everybody's bringing a piece of that energy puzzle, and we get to decide what our piece is. We also get to decide what pieces we share and what pieces we receive from others. So we're going to be talking about influence quite a lot, energy in and energy out, and then the intentional act of wielding that influence, being in choice to wield that influence on purpose. So some here or catching the recording might be doing their own self-awareness work, which is great. We always need to do that, keep learning, growing, stretching. But some of you may be trying to develop your peers, your colleagues. You may be working on programming for your respective workplaces to give them safe spaces to reflect and grow. So you can kind of think of this presentation from two perspectives. You can think about, how can I use this for me and do my own stretching and reflection work? And how can I use this for inviting others into the waters of their own self-awareness, recognizing that not just our intentions and what we're trying to do through our intentions, but taking the ownership for our impact. And that is just such a big, important piece for me today as I work with leaders and as I work with leaders that are working with others who maybe do or don't take accountability for that. And so, imagine what would be different for all of us if we each took accountability for the intention that we are putting out there and the impact of our thoughts, our behaviors, our actions, and our words. The intention and the impact. We have accountability and ownership for both of those things. And so we must talk about what we are doing with that, especially as, frankly, we see plenty of leaders who are not aware of neither the intention or the impact of their actions. So let's dig in a little bit here. I shared already that one of my coaching frameworks is energy leadership. And so you'll hear me draw on that throughout the presentation. And here's a little visual of that. We're working really to build awareness around our default modes and how we can lean into more choice about how we show up. Because that's just a matter of practice. We can stretch our brains, we can change our thoughts, we can change our emotions along with them, and the actions and results that come with them. So we're building these self-awareness muscles, and many of us have done a lot of that work. And the trickiest part of it gets into that, how do we wield and practice using those muscles? How do we get into the messy middle of exercising those muscles, flexing them, stretching them? And, self-awareness on its face is one thing, but putting that into action and influence is a whole nother thing. And so this is all for the purpose of creating more choice and intention around how we wield our energy and influence. And you'll get a little taste of that reflection work today. Again, for yourself, or to take back to your friends, your peers, your colleagues. I don't know, experiment on your family a little bit. I certainly do some energy leadership work with my family, whether they know that or not. So in that spirit, if you had to pick, this is where we're getting into the notes part of things. If you had to pick one word or a few words, if it's easier, that describe how you want to show up and lead your life. So the words, the values, the vibes that describe how you want to lead your life. You might have glimpses of these things. Some of them could be aspirational, but just jotting a couple words here, part of the slowdown. And at the end, I'll have a reflection worksheet as a giveaway that encompasses all these pieces we're going to walk through. But for now, tap into your inner artiste and just jot a couple things down, do a circle, do a box, your intrinsic leadership. And if anybody wants to share in the chat, I would welcome that. if you want to throw your word or a couple words that are coming up for you about how you're endeavoring to show up as a leader these days. My chat always goes away, so let me see if I can get that back. There we go. My one word would be empowering. And I picked empowering because that is really, it comes from my values, but you know, it's what I try to do in my circles of influence and for myself. Ooh, we've got some in the chat here. These are some good ones. Let's see. Showing up as a leader whole. Yes, such a big one. We're going to talk a little bit about that, Juanita. Thank you for sharing that. Intentional. Authentically, intentionally, empathetically. Yes. Good stuff. And so the next question, I want you to just reflect for yourself. Fully present. Got in there? I'm sorry, I'll slow down here a minute. I start getting on a roll. The drive to do your best. Yeah. Do the best with what you got. Thank you all for sharing those. So your next reflection question is looking at that word or words or whatever you jotted down, whatever's coming up for you about how you are endeavoring to lead. I want to give you a scale to just jot a little note here. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how well are you showing up consistently in alignment with that leadership mantra, values, vibes, whatever you jotted down? So 10 being all day, every day, I'm doing it. 1 being I'm never doing it. And I know everybody in this room is somewhere upward of 5 at the minimum, because you are all putting in the work and you're here at a leadership development workshop. So just, you know, what's coming up for you? Where are you clocking on that scale? It's a non-judgment exercise. This is just a reflection for your intrinsic leadership, how you're showing up consistently as a leader. Scale of 1 to 10, around a 6 to 7. Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing that. You got an 8. Okay. I think for me, I feel like 7.5 today. I feel like I'm up there, but the challenging times piece is weighing on me a little bit, and what to do with that. 8-ish. All right. All right. Got a 7. Got 8-ish. Nice. Very good. And those that want to keep their numbers to themselves, that's all good. I just hope that you had a chance to jot a number down. Just think about where you are on that scale. This will come back later, spoiler alert. So, along with your scaling number, I'd like to invite you to consider this chart. Just off the top of your head. Again, you can pop it in the chat, or you can keep it to yourself. No judgment here. Where do you find yourself most of the time? Just off the top of your head. What's your go-to energy level? And so this top piece might be cut off a little bit, but the top one, the fighter, that's level 2. I know that one well. That's my default stress mode. So I'm sharing this energy chart, and this does come from the Energy Leadership Index the energy leadership work that I do with my clients through IPEC, if y'all are familiar with the coaching school IPEC. And what we do is really assess where do we spend our time in these different modes, because we all spend time in each of these energies, different times, different places. No energy is good or bad, right or wrong. It's just what we're experiencing. And so clock some notes for yourself on this gently, and note that we all do need to spend time in each of these levels, as does everybody else. Many people, when I do this assessment debrief, they don't want to be the victim. Nobody wants to be the victim. But the victim doesn't just mean, you know, overwhelmed and disempowered. It also is the level of grief and where we need to draw some sympathy. And sometimes we do need to be there. We need to hang out in level 1. So there's a time and place for it. There's a time and place for each of these. The question really is, are you being intentional and in choice about where you are, how much time you spend in these different energies? Or are you operating at a default that might not be optimal for you, or maybe you're just hanging out in one of these energy levels a little more than is ideal. Let's see. I know we've got some chat going. Thank you all for popping things into the chat. We've got helper, we've got 4, we've got 6, we've got 4. Move a lot between 4 and 7. And sometimes a 2. Yep, fighting all the time. We gotta be in that fight sometimes. And yeah, one thing I'll say, just to bring you into a little bit of the energy leadership weeds and some of the science behind this coaching work, is level 1 and level 2 are the more catabolic or stress side of our energy. So when we got our adrenaline, we've got our cortisol, we've got those, fear response triggers going for one reason or another. That's when we're in level 1 or level 2. And everybody visits these levels throughout their day to day. It's just, again, question, how long do we stay there and what does that look like? Level 2 is actually also the level of advocacy. So sometimes we do need to fight the good fight, right? We need to get into good trouble. We need to do the work and we need to roll up our sleeves. And oftentimes we can be at odds, at tension with things that we're working on. And so, yeah, necessary level 2 time for sure. But the rest of the levels, level 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, are the anabolic side. So that's when we're more dopamine driven, serotonin driven, more creative, more connecting. Our brain isn't dedicating so many resources to the stress side of things when we're in these higher levels. And so when we feel a stressor, usually we're defaulting to one of these 2 levels, level 1 or level 2. And that's true for, I don't know, the 60, 70 some odd people I've done this assessment with at this point. Everybody defaults under stress to level 1 or level 2. And then when we're not stressed, we default to one of these higher levels, 3 through 7. And so it's a little bit of the energy leadership background there. So what influences these levels that we spend our time in? Well, quite a few things. So hold the energy thoughts and meet my dad. This is my dad here in this picture. And I bring him because he is a big influence in my life, big influencer. And yet he is wearing an army themed Hawaiian shirt as his version of dressing up to a family photo shoot situation. So we're pretty different humans, in short, different contexts, different identities, different biases, different experience, education, so on and so forth. But we're overlapping in our circles of influence. So here's our 3 circles we're going to be working with today. We have our circle of me or you. What we have in our own circle, or I guess kind of oval, got a little oval on the slide here. I'm not a graphic designer. So in our you oval, we get to think about our inner story. We get to think about what's our narrative about ourselves and how we relate to the world. We get to think about our saboteurs, our triumphs, skills that we cultivate, self-care and compassion we give to ourselves, the healing, the intentional growth work that you do. And that you circle too, we've got the food we're eating, the social media we're scrolling, how we honor our values and endeavor to live them out. That's all part of our you circle oval. We get to choose what goes in that bubble. We get to choose what comes out of that bubble and what we share with people too. Then we have our inner loop. So just outside of ourselves, we have our close family, our close friends, probably our close colleagues or community members that we see a lot, that we spend a lot of time with. So my dad is part of my inner loop, my close family inner loop, friends, colleagues, the kinds of people, places, and things I'm surrounding myself with most of the time, part of that inner loop. And I bring this up because not all things in our inner loop are within our full control. Our you loop, our you circle, is what we have a lot of agency and control and choice over. But that inner loop, it's a little bit more squishy. We certainly can't choose our family, but we can choose how we receive boundaries, how we hold boundaries, how we let others influence us and how we influence them. Me and my dad, we get to influence each other and we get to decide how we tango with that. Sometimes it's smooth, sometimes it's a little bit clashy. But this is really a two-way street that I'm talking about between us and our inner loop. We give and receive energy, and so does everybody else. And so we're going to get into the reflection piece of this in a moment, but we're going to be thinking about, where do my circles give and get energy from us? What kind of energy do we give and do we get? What am I bringing to them, and are they bringing to me? And then finally, we have the outer loop, where we have the least control, but what may still have a lot of influence trickling at us if we're not mindful and in choice about it. And so the outer loop, that's the outside world. Everything that's going on outside of our, maybe even our workplace is part of the outer loop. Maybe it's part of the inner loop. It really depends person to person. But other examples of the outer loop: world events, politics, things happening just out in the world that we get exposed to, and also we're influenced one way or another. And so we'll be thinking about, again, the intentional giving and getting of energy between these loops. The one we have the most choice over, the one we have the least choice over what's happening, but still a high level of choice around what we give and what we get in that bigger outer influence loop. So here is your note-taking time, your pause moment. We're going to sketch these out a little bit. This is the drawing I have on my worksheet. And so I'd invite you to draw a little person or something, a circle in the center that's going to represent you, and a loop just beyond that, and one more loop. So we're going to be talking about each of these layers. If you don't want to draw a person, you can just draw circles, but I thought this one was kind of fun in my my Canva notebook here. So in the U circle, we have how we're influencing ourselves. Where do we focus our energy? What's within our choice and control or not? And so everybody's always like, what do I put in there? And that's the question. What are you putting in there? What are you putting into your own loop? Your choice. So, you know, family could be a piece of this, but we'll have family in the inner loop. But really just mindsets, behaviors. Maybe there's self-care. Maybe wellness and well-being is part of how you take care of yourself. So you can think about things that are nourishing, things that you do from like a self-care and personal growth standpoint. You can also think about things that are that just seem to happen. You can think about narratives about your identity. You can think about any number of things that are going on within your own loop that you are feeding and fueling by yourself. Let me know if there's any questions on any of this as we go. For me in my inner loop, leadership is a big piece of how I influence myself and how I think about influence. It's where I focus a lot of my time and energy. My values go in there. My values are adventure, connection, and empowerment. So those are in there. How am I feeding those, or where can I work toward more alignment with those? Actions, volunteering, giving back, connecting. And someone brought up some of the level 2 energy stuff. And yeah, some of the spice I bring to life is that I've got some useful level 2 energy where the advocacy front goes. So that is a part of, I'd say, my inner loop, where I recognize I have privilege in some spaces and I can speak up and say things that maybe others can't for one reason or another. And yeah, that used to be part of a little bit of a villain narrative for me. That was like very level 1, but now I'm more clear and crisp on that it's really level 2 energy that I choose. Like, let's roll up our sleeves and like have a direct conversation about this. And that's advocacy. That's level 2. So you can clock some energy level numbers in there. This is a really important one, this U loop. And I'm spending extra time here because it's the one that we have the most choice over. Your inner loop now, just outside your U loop. Who is influenced by you directly? And who are you influenced by directly? So this inner loop just outside of you is where we're jotting maybe close friends, close family, close colleagues. You can write names if you want. You can write just those buckets of, people wherever you're spending your time. And just some considerations for that loop. What narrative patterns are in there? What mindsets? What kinds of support is in there or boundaries? Accountability, collaboration. So just be thinking, who's putting influence into your inner loop? And who are you giving influence to in that inner loop? And what does that look like? Everyone's so quiet, but I'm going to trust that y'all are with me. You're getting your jotting time down. So now we're in the outer loop. The environments or systems that impact us. Workplace, society, current events. So that goes in the outer loop. Your neighborhood, maybe if you spend time in certain communities, they could go there in the outer loop. You spend a lot of time there. The question is, do they go in the inner loop? But this is the loop where we have the least amount of control for how this loop behaves. And we might have a little bit of choice around how this outer loop influences us directly. We're going to be talking about that a little bit more. What are we doing to shape the spaces we're in? What are we doing to trickle influence outward? And let it trickle inward or hold boundaries for it trickling inward. It really depends. But we've got our loops. So a couple considerations for our circles of influence that we just did. Our circles, our loops of influence. Simple questions. Are these chargers or drainers? And I know that's a bit of a black and white question, but pure and simple, what we give and what we get matters. And so all we're doing to notice here is what and where and how does energy flow in these circles of influence? What fuels you, pumps you up? What drains you? Leading from within means choosing the influence that you engage, setting boundaries where needed, and aligning with the energy you want to bring into your spaces, into your circles of influence. And our influence happens no matter what. So whether we are in choice about wielding it or not, it's going to happen. We're going to show up in a space. We're going to have influence. The question here that we're tapping into is, what do we want that to look like and feel like? What do we want to do on purpose? And so we want to notice what actions, behaviors, emotions, ideas, and energy come from your influencers internally and externally, and what energy you're putting into your circles of influence on purpose. And the stay or shift note, these are, things you can jot along with your notes that you've taken so far. Is it helpful to stay where you are in terms of how you're giving and getting energy from these circles of influence? Are there things worth exploring or shifting? I've had folks in workshops before do little emojis or pluses or minuses or sun or rain, happies or sads in these circles. And I have had participants ask me, is it normal that I see so many drainers? And what I would say to that is normal is relative to everybody, right? But right now, a lot of people have got a lot of drainers for one reason or another. We are all in a bit of drain. And I bring this up because we're going to talk a little bit about burnout here in a few minutes. But yes, it is normal. It's a normal human experience to experience a lot of energy drainers or takers. And it is also pretty common for us to forget about the chargers and forget about spending time with the chargers. And so, one, what energy are we putting out, charging or draining energy? And two, thinking about our circles of influence. Where is it helpful to stay? Where is it helpful to shift? And this is a heavy one. Like we talked about early on, this is a workshop about leading inclusively during challenging times, not during happy sunshine rainbow times. So a lot of people are experiencing a lot of heaviness and weighty things in this space. And even in our, quote unquote safe circles, right? Our families, our friends, our close peeps, we are experiencing a lot of the draining side of things. And so what do we do with that without minimizing people's experiences, right? What do we do with that without becoming toxically positive? We really have to do some careful curation and stretching of ourselves to maybe hold space for the draining side of things that just are. They are what they are. We have to deal with them one way or another. But we can also think about how we spend our time there, how much we spend our time there, and what things are we doing to fuel and nourish and bring us to the energy and the awareness and the intention and the impact that we want to wield as leaders in the spaces we're in, every single space we're in. So you might consider now, where is your energy? Now that you've reviewed your influencers. And this one, why don't you all let me know how you're doing in the chat? What energy is coming up as you've done some reflection so far? And I'd also love to know, see, there's 14 of us. Can't see your faces on my screen, but clock your energy in there for me on the chat. And then I would love to know if we want to try to dabble in a breakout. If we can, let's see here. I think we might. I'm still not seeing breakouts on my end. So what I'm going to do, oh, there we go. So we've got a 4. We've got a 6 from earlier. So let's see what we've got here now. Thanks for sharing, Pamela, in the 4-5 space. All right, we've got a 3-4, 4-5 as well. 4. Yeah, we see a lot of 4 action, which is the service and support of others. The growing edge and challenge for folks that spend a lot of time in level 4 is making sure that they are also taking care of themselves. Does anyone want to give voice to what's coming up for them? 3 and 5. Okay. So we're at 10:41 here. I know some people have to leave at the top of the hour. So what I'm debating is, and we're a small enough group that I think we can get a little vote on this going. And Dr. Lee, you tell me too if you have any direction on this, but would you all like to do a little breakout room action? Or would you like to just have a couple shares here in the room? Do you want to test my breakout room skills, or do you want to stay here and share as a smaller-ish group?
I would say if you want to go into a breakout, put a 1 in the chat.
Yeah, let's get a vote going.
Looks like they want to chat here, Melissa.
All right.
Oh, I see a 1. There's a 1 there. Pamela says 1.
Oh, but she says we can stay here and share. And we got 2 thumbs up on that. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So, Melissa, I was trying not to wade in. I told you I was going to sit back here and not say anything.
You're welcome to chime in. I love it. I get on
So,
a roll and keep powering through.
So you asked where do we feel on one of these scales from 1 to 7, right?
Yeah, just what's
I
coming
don't
up.
think, and I like the way you explained 4, but what if I'm like, my first thought was I'm 7, then I'm 4,
Mhm,
then I'm 5.
mhm.
And on your initial question, how do I show up? My initial thought was 10.
Yeah,
But I'm in a mood of constantly growing and learning on my own and with whoever I interact with. So I'm
yeah,
constantly looking for opportunities because I think in sharing that knowledge and energy, then you actually create the growth that you're trying to represent in any place where you exist.
yeah. Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And the thing with these energy levels, a lot of folks love like a personality assessment or like when we do a quiz and we get to see like, oh, which box do I go in? But the thing with these energy levels is that we all experience all of these energies at different times in different contexts. And so it's a bit more of riding the waves than it is, I sit here at this level. And so we have a default mode where we spend most of our time on a kind of on an average day doing average things. We tend to float around one or two of these levels, which is unique to each of us. And then under stress, we all have this shared experience of experiencing stress down at those lower levels. So the stress levels are level 2 and level 1. And, there could be good stress, there could be bad stress. Like I talked about, level 2 is also where we see advocacy and where we need to lean into some of that. But it's not comfortable energy, right? We're not happy when we're advocating necessarily. We're in it. Our sleeves are rolled up. We're in tension with something or someone. So level 2 is a necessary place, but 2 and 1 is where we experience stress. These higher levels is where we experience a little less stress, a little more connection, and also up at these higher levels, less judgment of ourselves and others, and just higher self-awareness where we can be in more choice about what we're doing with each of these levels.
When you say less judgment, what does that mean?
So when we are under stress, our brain is really using our amygdala to say good, bad, right, wrong, left, right, black, white. Our brain just wants to be here or there, wants to categorize safe or not safe, right? And when we are in these higher levels, less stress, our brain is not so amygdala focused. We are able to be in less judgment and in more discernment. And the difference between those two things is judgment is under stress when our brain really wants to categorize quickly. Am I safe or am I not safe? And so that is a judgment call. Whereas discernment, our brains can operate with a little bit more nuance and not quite so, you know, quick, reactive. So that's what I mean between judgment and discernment. The higher level that we're spending our energy on this chart is correlated with less judgment because our brain is not under stress under that fight, flight, amygdala action. So let's
Well,
see.
I was saying even at the higher level, you're still operating through some judgment. That's why I
Yeah,
was that's why I was asking. And it's not always, to me, it's not a negative thing. It's
no.
it, it's an assessment, it's a self-check. It's, am I
Mhm.
getting this right? How can I do things a little bit better? That type
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah, definitely. And as we go up the levels, the way that the energy leadership folks at IPEC talk about it is, once we get to level 7, there's no judgment because there's so much connection to the world around us that we're living in a more present, almost like effervescent state of being where we're not judging good or bad. We're just kind of all part of this connected world. And then on level 6 is where we experience synergy with others. There's a much less, judgment than at lower levels. There might be a hint of it there, but for the most part, at level 6, we're focusing on being in the groove with other people. We're bringing all of our strengths to the table. We're focusing on solutions. We're just kind of naturally creating because we're in the groove and we're not spending a lot of the brain power in judgment or negativity.
Gotcha.
And then level 5 is really the mindset of like win-win. How do we get to this win-win mentality where I'm winning and you're winning? So again, little judgment here. We're focused on solutions. We're in the creating space. And level 4 is kind of where the last of the more heavy judgment drops off because level 4, while it is care, compassion, service to others, in order to determine if people need care, compassion, and service, what do we have to do to them? we have to judge them. We have to judge them as needing help, care, support. And we also have to judge ourselves as being the ones to be able to provide that support to them. And so there is a little bit of judgment in level 4, but again, not in the negative sense. It just is. It's just our processing. To give you a little bit of a summary on these, so level 1 would be, if I gave these like a little like tagline, level 1 would say, I lose. I'm the loser. Level 2 would say, you lose. I'm going to win. You're going to lose. Level 3 would say, meh, I don't know. I'm going to figure out how to win. If you win too, that's great, but I'm going to figure it out. Level 4 is, I'm so focused on you winning. I'm going to help you win. Level 5, let's both win. We can do this. We're both going to win in this scenario. Level 6, we're always winning. We're not even thinking about winning and losing because we're just always winning. We're up here, we're vibing, we're getting stuff done, we're creating, we're connected. And level 7 is like, this is all an illusion. There's not even a game. This is just life and we're living it. We're up in this high level energy. That's in our passion side of things, where we see a lot of glimpses of level 7 in our life, but we maybe don't spend a ton of time there because it's such high consciousness, such low judgment. But when we are using our level 7 energy, or we're spending time there, we can be in choice about intentionally using these other energies as we need them, kind of at our whim, because it's high consciousness.
There's an interesting comment in the chat from D. Is that Garot?
Let's see here.
It says, I think with a lot, she said, he said, I think with a lot of what's going on in the political space, I'm usually hovering around in the 3. But I try to separate from that and focus on solutions and things that are in my control. So that's why I said 3 to 5.
Oh, interesting.
Also,
yeah.
Good job pronouncing my last name right, because everybody plays all the vowels and they're like, how do you do that? So
yeah, that's a great share. And that's exactly right, where an energy is there for whenever we need it. So there does need to be some coping to what's going on right now, because we can't change all the things that are happening to us. And there's so much, it's just a constant barrage of things happening in the day-to-day. But right, we can stay focused on coping. And the thing about level 3 is when we stay in this coping level and we rationalize things and we say we're fine, we don't address the underlying anger or the underlying feeling lost, stuck, hopeless, kind of despairing. So we might be floating at level 3, but we're not addressing these underlying things. Whereas when we move up to these higher levels, like 5, we're working towards some solutions. We're doing what we can. We're being in choice about what we can be in choice and influencing what we can. And so that's a very different feeling for our mind, for our body, for our relationships, for our communication, if we're spending more time in level 5 than in level 3, right? Because we're addressing our energy and being in choice about it differently. And I might have missed one other comment here in the chat. Thank you again for sharing that. And thank you for catching that, Dr. Lee. I get sidetracked from my chat.
That was from Jackie Davis. That was another one.
Yeah. So energy shifts depending on the environment and the people you're with. Yes, absolutely. 100%. So if you look at your notes on those circles of influence, that might be something interesting to clock. Okay, where's my energy for each of these loops? And yes, defaulting to level 4 and being in service and support of others is a big, pretty common thing for a lot of the leaders I work with. I work with a lot of servant-minded leaders, service-hearted leaders in the hospitality world, or folks that are parents or caregivers. And so level 4 is like the time and place. And I would also argue, I don't have any science to back this up, but I would argue and bet heavily that folks that are working in the DEI spaces these days, still continuing this work, regardless of what's going on, they are level 4ing it up. Like they are doing the thing because it's important, because it makes a difference. And you're exactly right, Jackie, that if you're defaulting to meeting others' needs, what else is there? How long does that work? What keeps that optimal? And so level 4 is focused on helping other people win. Level 5 is like, how do we mutually benefit from each other winning? slightly different inflection. The tricky thing about level 4 is when we are leaning so far into level 4, it's almost like you're like leaning over the edge trying to help somebody in level 4. But if you get too close to the edge, you're going to slip. You can get tumbled down. Like the level 4 is a little bit of a cliff. Like if you get too close to the edge. And so energy is sort of gravitational in that way, where if we are throwing ourselves into everybody else and filling up everybody else's cups, but not our own, what happens? We can get resentful, which is level 2. We can get overwhelmed, which is level 1. Or we can get into level 3, which is like, oh, this is fine, whatever. It's, we're doing this again, whatever, we're going to get it done. So level 4 is that very careful place where we need to be in choice and intention about how much we're pouring in there, where we're pouring in for ourselves, and being careful about the gravitational pulls down to these lower energies if we're not taking care of ourselves.
Melissa, I have a question and observation, and other people
Yeah.
can wait if they like.
Mhm.
Why didn't anybody say 7? Like crazy boy here. I said 7. I mean, because to me, I listened to your description of 4 and 5, and I could maybe be the one that jump off the edge, like you said, but I see that passion combined with understanding where you are and what's required to replenish yourself as almost synergistic. So
Yeah. So
I'm looking at Juanita, and I can't wait to hear what's on her mind.
We called you out.
I know, right?
That's okay. That's a good call out. I think for me, I rest really at around 6. I'm with you. 7, for me, 7 seems like, oh my God, I got to be on 10 all the time. So I like that 6. I'm not always in a win-win. Sometimes I just want to be in alignment with that oneness and that wholeness, which is really what I said earlier. Yes, I like care and compassion to others, but I also like oneness and wholeness with myself more.
Yeah.
So
Up in that synergy, right? Where you can work together but independently, right? And you can
uh-huh.
be in the groove and the flow state.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Introverts like it there.
And I am definitely an introvert. I'm not shy, but I'm an introvert.
There's an interesting comment from Ms. Garoa again. Her, and it looked like somebody co-signed it. Don't know who that was that co-signed it.
Yeah, the genius part of things. And so that's fair. And what I would say about level 7 is it is very common when I do these debriefs with clients that level 7 is the hardest for people to kind of be like, what does that look like? What does that mean? And, level 7 is kind of a blissed out state. It's where we're up
Amen.
here. So Dr. Lee, what I always joke and what I always say is like, if anybody's spending most of their time in level 7, they need to share their secret sauce with the rest of us. Because I don't know many people that are hanging out in level 7, having a party all the time right now, Dr. Lee. So why don't you let us know that formula?
I'm not sick. That's where I am. I see Pamela's hand up over there from Melissa.
Oh, Pamela. Yeah, Pamela, what do you got for us?
I was the one that responded to Deidre. And
okay.
I would say that I agreed with her, but I wrote earlier when we first started the discussion that I usually, right now, because I'm running my own business, is I'm usually in that 5 to 7 mode, especially when I'm working. Doing creative things for my business. I feel really involved and really in touch with that kind of thing. But I have to admit, which is why I was agreeing with Dee, was that the political landscape and some of the things that are happening in my community, and the constant fight that we're in, frequently drives me out of my 5 to 7 range and into my 2 to 4 range, because I'm feeling I feel like I have to fight. It's not even a choice anymore. I feel like I have to fight, and so so it's easy to drop back into it, to well, I wouldn't say easy. I think I go like dragging, feel like I'm being dragged back into 2 and 4 areas simply because I need to fight for others, or I need to
Mhm.
fight for new clients, or I need to fight for people in my community, or
Yeah.
I need to fight for, I'm also job searching. So that is like that. Let us talk about how that is like a one almost.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
it really, I don't know, sometimes, thankfully, I'm not doing the 1 to 7 all day, every day. So I'm used to that. But there are certain days, depending upon, especially in the work that I'm doing, I work in healthcare. Um, I frequently end up, doing the battle, the 2 to 3,
Yeah.
trying to do the battle, trying to rationalize that we can move forward, trying to get to 5 to
Yep.
see if we can do some solution focus things. But some of the discussions that are occurring, against DEI and against some of the other things that are crucial for people to survive
Yep.
are almost irrational in how they, because irrational is actually not a word, but there's a
Yeah.
real meanness to the process. There's a
Mhm.
hatefulness to the process, and so
Yep.
it takes a lot. You have to literally shore up enough strength to fight that particular battle. So
Yeah.
that's why I was agreeing with Dee, because I'm like, yep, there's some days where I'm in 2, 3, and 4 all day.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I hear you. And it's yeah, I think you hit on so many important points, Pamela, that we are in this time, challenging times, right? Understatement of the century. And every day we have these choices on how to engage, but sometimes it does feel forced, right? Sometimes we do feel pulled into these other energy spaces because like energy attracts like energy, right? So if we step into a space where people are, saddling up for a fight, then that's what we're doing. That's what we're invited into. That's the influence they're choosing to have on us. And sometimes we can step away from it. Sometimes we can't. A lot of times we can't, and we have to lean in. And so this actually brings me to a really important piece. And I know we're at the top of the hour. So if you have to jump, thank you for being here. You can catch the rest of this on the recording. And we are going to get into a few final important reflections to this point that Pamela was talking about, which is burnout prevention. Because if we are constantly leaning into these lower energies or having to be pulled down into these lower energies, which is very prevalent right now, very common, either holding the weight of these lower energies with our clients, holding the weight of these lower energies with our peers or colleagues, or seeing this out in the world, like there is heavy stuff. And like we talked about, Dr. Lee might have some secret sauce for glimpses of level 7, but we do maybe fluctuate through these quite a lot. And so this piece of burnout prevention and being in choice about our energy, I would say for folks that are occupying a lot of level 4 space, a lot of level 5, or fighting against level 2 and level 1 as much as they can, this is where we really need to think about, how do we sustain ourselves in this? How do we buffer ourselves? How do we nourish ourselves? How do we make sure that we don't get so depleted that we can't fluctuate to those higher levels, right? We're stuck in level 1 and level 2 because we're just so tanked from this ongoing barrage of BS. I'll try to keep my cussing to a minimum, Dr. Lee, but I have a few choice words for this, but burnout prevention. I just want to invite you all to take a couple quick moments here. Burnout is out there. It's pretty rampant right now. We know that there are certain communities that are more impacted because they're having to do this uphill battle every day. And so I just want to give a moment to think about, what is your oxygen mask? The oxygen mask rule: when you get on a plane, you've got to put yours on first before you can continue helping others. So I don't just mean a spa day either for burnout prevention. Not against a spa day, like get your spa days in, but I'm talking about boundaries. I'm talking about systems, structures, routines that are nourishing for you, whether it is, take a walk outside. For me, it's hang out with my dogs. When you are taking on the weight of everybody else's energy, when you're noticing that your circles of influence are having a lot of draining stuff going on in these lower levels, yanking us down, we need to have some kind of way to sustain ourselves so that at least we can be in some choice of how we go through these energy levels. And so a big one for me is limiting my doom scrolling. Like I want to be informed, but I try to strike the balance of being informed and not just like bogged down by the crap that is everyday social media, frankly.
Listen, I've never heard the term doom scrolling. I'm going to write that
You've never heard the term doom scrolling? That's why
down.
you're at level 7, Dr. Lee. All the rest of us are out here doom scrolling, and it's got me in level 2 every day.
Let me throw this at you because you're talking about how to prevent burnout, and I was talking about the necessity of synergy when we connect with people who are doing what we do. I'm about creating a success circle around yourself where you are informing people and they're informing you, such that it's not you doing all the lifting by yourself or having to sustain the people around you because you've shared enough and grown enough to keep that energy going. And everybody's not going to be at the same level, like you said. But to me, it's like running a company. I'd like to say you get 2 degrees, right? You earn 2, but you have 15 because you hire 13 other people who are smart differently than you. The same thing in this respect. When Pamela was describing her situation, I was thinking, she said, but she couldn't be a level 7. And I thought that's where the creative genius comes in. Well, you think with all of the minutia that's going around right now, and a lot of it's just misinformation and just wrong information, how do you prepare for what's coming next? Because this too shall pass. And if you get stuck in the mire, you'll miss the opportunity that's being presented by what's being created by all of this madness. That's my thing.
I love it. So you're giving us some more of your level 7 secret sauce, Dr. Lee. So what I'm hearing you say is you're talking about that inner loop and your own kind of circle of influence for yourself, is that you're choosing to be around people that lift you up, that support
and
you.
Vice versa.
Yes. And so choosing that energy influence for those, those circles is so important. And you sound like do it pretty naturally. And for many of us, we don't notice that we spend time in some circles that may not feel as nourishing, that may not feel as supportive. And so, yes, I love this. This is a great burnout prevention. Like, get Dr. Lee's secret sauce down, everybody.
I feel like that. Man, I had to write that down.
You said, what did you call it? A community of support, like personal board of directors? What are we talking?
But just your support circle. In other
support
words,
circle. Yeah.
Who are you spending, as you look around, as you look at yourself and who's around you, who are the people who you default to? When you come time to commiserate, or you're trying to think a little differently, or raise yourself up to another level, or even inform yourself differently. What does that look like? If everybody's saying, man, this guy run the country, and everybody gets down there, then that's where you go. But people say, we understand the challenge that's out there. That's our opportunity. Because this when real progress happens, is in the presence of things like this. Not when everything is glorious and everybody can get something because you have something that looks like a success.
That's true. Yeah. So those circles of influence.
Yeah, there's another chat here by Jackie.
Thank you, Jackie. So true self-care is not salt baths and chocolate cake. It is making the choice to build a life you don't need to regularly escape from. Ooh, that just gave me chills.
She needs to be talking, doesn't she, Melissa?
Oh man, that just gave me chills. So yeah, that's I love it. It lives rent free in your head, motivates you to build safe spaces, bring greatness to your life, find the joy. Yes. So that is another great burnout prevention thing. So we've got Dr. Lee's nugget for, wisdom for level 7 and burnout prevention is your circle of influence, people. Choose it, wield it carefully, build it and lean into it and pour into it and see what it's pouring out for you, and build it in a way that is creative, connecting, joyful. Burnout prevention for me was the no doom scrolling, right? Managing my intake of what's coming from that outer loop that I can't control, but managing what I'm taking in from that outer loop. And I love that Dr. Lee said, and don't just stay out of that doom scrolling, but actually go to your people and lean forward in a different way. You don't have to stay stuck in this negativity. And then another piece that you could be thinking about for this burnout prevention is what does that, nourishment, disconnection, reconnection, rekindling, something for yourself, your own personal self, because, you know, doom scrolling is my internal thing for me. Dr. Lee talked about our outer or inner loops and how we're choosing our influences. And so a third piece might be, what are you doing for growth? What are you doing for joy? What are you doing for fun? What are you doing to simply lift spirits for the sake of lifting spirits? Because we know a more creative brain is one that is connected, one that is feeling these higher levels of energy, that is spending less time in stress mode. So just maybe that third one is something about joy, what I would headline there. All right, we're getting toward the end here. I want to make sure we get through. We have until the half-hour point, and I want to make sure we give a couple moments there toward the end. So as we get toward this wrap up, and speaking of joy and doing things to prevent burnout and to pour into our own cups, one piece of burnout prevention and reflections on our leadership work is really celebrating our progress. So celebrating what we are already doing, what we are accomplishing or we have accomplished. And so we're pushing back a bit on, you know, hustle culture's lie that we need to keep doing these big, grandiose new things and getting more stuff and getting the next title. Forget all that. What are you doing already right now? What can you give yourself more credit for, more grace for, celebration? And so would love you to just jot a couple notes from yourself for yourself. You're welcome to share them. We love to hear them. But how are you celebrating yourself? And this is an important one for, like we've been talking about, in challenging times, there is plenty of mud to muck around in. We can muck around in mud all day if we want to. But is that how we want to spend our energy? Or can we spend it on celebrating ourselves, celebrating our other people, pouring into that circle of support like Dr. Lee talked about? That's where we should be celebrating, complimenting, giving grace to ourselves and to each other. And so, you know, in my client sessions, I often tell people if they go down this rabbit hole of beating themselves up about something, I'll be like, hold on a second. What is one compliment you can give yourself? And I consistently get people giving me like, oh, I don't know. And it's real. It's like we don't practice giving ourselves compliment. Nobody is watching. You can give yourself a secret compliment. Nobody will even know, except we will know because it changes your energy. It changes your influence. It changes how you're giving grace for yourself, which ultimately is going to change how you're giving grace to others too. So take care of yourself. Give yourself some celebration, some compliments, some grace. And if you're having a hard time with compliments today, you've got one, you're here learning, growing, trying to lead inclusively through challenging times. You've got, you know, probably a ton of things. If you're still working in the DEI space today or endeavoring to work in that space, that is huge. That is a huge celebration moment. You are fighting the good fight. Seriously, it's important. Showing up every day and just giving your best, that is worth a celebration too. So these don't need to be big, lofty things. I'm talking about little moments of grace and celebration or compliments in your day-to-day can really go a long way to shifting how long you spend in these different energy levels. And so as we move to wrap up, a couple reflection questions for you. We're going to do one final note-taking or journal time after this, but really we're just thinking about a couple big things. You know, how do you want to engage as a leader? How do you want to wield your influence? For some of us, it's like, how can I just like bring a little bit more peace to my day-to-day in a time where it feels like peace is hard fought, hard to come by? And these are questions you can also offer to other leaders in the work that you're in, the spaces you're in, leaders you're helping grow, leaders you're helping cope, leaders you're helping support. Just giving them a moment to reflect, because so often we forget to pause and just slow down, give ourselves compliments. We forget to pause and slow down and think about, how does this align with my values and how I want to show up? We don't think about that, we just do. And so what we're looking at is questions of pause or reflection that can prompt us to think about, what's one small thing I can do? If I want to shift, if I want to make something different of the energy mix that I have going on, the energy cocktail, if you want to do one different ingredient, what does that look like? And so you might think back or look back at your notes to your intrinsic leadership values, vibes, the words that you put down. You can look at your scaled number and think, okay, I'm at a 5 or a 6 or a 7. What does an 8 or a 9 look like? Just one small step. It's a little thing you can do. Maybe it's more compliments. Maybe it's more celebrations of you. Maybe it's a self-care circle. Maybe it's get into Dr. Lee's self-care circle. How do we get into that, Dr. Lee? Can you just put your email? We're going to create a new self-care and support circle. Dr. Lee's going to lead it. It's going to be called the Level 7 Circle. So that's one.
That's cute,
But truly, one small step that we can take for ourselves and aligning with the leadership influence that we want to have.
Can I offer this, since I think the majority of people here are either in leadership or working with leaders?
Mm-hmm.
Is to understand that you cannot lead alone. And a lot of
Mhm.
people think that's your job, and that's not how you lead. It isn't. That's why you hire people who are smart differently than you are. If you're
Yeah.
trying to lead alone, that's what makes it tough. You build up people around you. You give people, the experts who are doing the day-to-day work, the opportunity to lead, and it makes your lift that much lighter. So it's really about the people around you as well as you.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Back to that support circle. Really don't be
Yes.
in this alone. It's not the time to be alone. And
Nope.
that community element of things, when I'm talking about circles of influence, I'm really talking about community at its purest form. Like our community, the inner community, the outer community is really what matters right now. And so how we stay connected to that and shape that really does matter. Let's see, we got some chat stuff here. So we've got whole weekends off social media. Have a business partner to shoulder the business. Yeah. Talk to sister friends, attend church, time in bookstores and book club. Yeah. Design floral arrangements, garden walks. Oh, beautiful. Oh, a compliment, Sharon in there. Creating programs, educational materials, presenter, gift of grace, discernment. Yes. Your third award for your work in DEI. Amazing. Thank you for sharing those, Pamela. It's awesome. Jackie, we've got building a supervisor training for your organization. Amazing. A better leader, empowering them to build psychologically safe spaces. Yes, yes, yes. Big snaps for psychological safety. Help them explore their strengths and potential. Oh, thank you so much. And a little compliment for me. Thank you. That's very kind. Yeah, I'm glad I got to give you a little bit of moment for reflection here. And I've got a few final things and then we can do a little Q&A discussion here. But before you all get rolling, if you would be so kind, this is my feedback link. It's just a quick Talkadot survey. You don't have to worry about the referral stuff too much. You can put as much or as little in there as you want. You don't need to sign up for an email list. I'm practicing getting feedback from my workshop folks because that's been a missed opportunity for me in the past. So I would love to have a little bit of feedback from you, and then I'll get us wrapped up and checked out in just a minute here. Oh, and it does say it'll, from that survey is going to be where you can get your worksheet. It will give you the little link to the worksheet that I was walking through. Feel free to give me a thumbs up or something once you're done, and I'll keep us moving. Should have had a little survey music for everybody next time. We'll do just another minute or two here. We get to wrap out. So that survey will get you the worksheet that we were working on. And then those that did the survey too, I'm happy to send the my deck out. I know a lot of folks in this group like to have the decks afterwards. So I'm happy to send that your way if you'd like it. And as we wrap here, would love to hear what you're taking away, a word or a vibe, or clock out your energy here. What's your takeaway that you're walking out of here with? Thank you, Dr. Lee. Thank you for the comments in the chat. Oh, thank you, Nikki. Thank you for that.
Avoid
Yeah, little time.
avoid doom scrolling.
Avoid doom scrolling. That's going to be your new one.
That's my phrase, man, for the day.
Yeah, I love it. Avoid doom scrolling. Yeah, chase the good energy. That's what I'd say. Chase the good energy, chase the joy. It is easy to slide
Indeed.
down into the mud these days. So
There's
follow the good energy.
too much bad news out here, man.
Yes. Yeah, and as people are getting their checkout words rolling, or feel free to share them in the chat, feel free to voice them out loud. We got a couple chats coming through here. Let's see. Oh yeah, an invite to Dr. Lee's level 7 club. Yep. That's been invented as of today. Pour back into your own cup. Yes. From level 4 support of others to level 5 win-win. Love it. Yeah, it's absolutely okay to go between levels. You can move higher, you can move lower, you can go wherever you need to go. It's a great one. As people are wrapping their reflections, I want to give you contact info, say thank you. My book is out now, and you can get it at all the places that you can get books. You can do bookshop.org. I don't know if my slide's coming through here. Let me know. My book is new, published this spring, and I've got circles of influence in there. I've got some of these exercises we've worked on, and it is a little bit of a love letter to millennials, but it really is leadership science and practices that work for everybody, that I use with all generations. And that, you know, if you work with millennials, or if you have found a way to not work with millennials, that would be interesting to know, because we're a big part of the workforce these days. We're like 35%. But yeah, I would love for your support of the book. Give me your feedback, give me your notes. I'm on all the social channels. I'd love to stay connected with you all. And I'm always so grateful for the energy of this group and the community here. And I hope that you had time and space for yourself today, and some nuggets to take forward with you into your own leadership practice. And I think that's it. I don't think we have any other housekeeping things we need to do, Dr. Lee. So I'll take us to the last slide here and leave you with that. How you lead from within, everybody, and send you off with good vibes, and grateful for the good vibes you shared here today.
Loved it, Melissa. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll stop our recording here too.